Hello everybody, it's Chelsea and welcome to my second video. So, pro status can't be too far away. I just wanted to share something with you guys. Hopefully I don't look like it because I just put on my makeup, but I just had a really good cry, which is a really awkward way of starting a video. To my friends and family, I'm okay, I promise. But here's the thing. I actually just had a client cancel due to COVID, which I'm so glad she's safe. I'm so thankful that she took my health into consideration because some people aren't doing that these days. So to that client, if you ever see this, thank you for thinking of me. Thank you for thinking of my other clients. Thank you. That said, guys, I can't lie and I wouldn't be authentic if I didn't say I didn't feel a slight little burst, a really big burst of frustration and fear, not at her obviously, but just at the situation. I think a lot of us small business people are feeling the same way because we, either we don't have steady income from a job to kind of supply and say, okay, no problem, you're still getting paid, or worse, some of us still don't have our jobs and we're still looking. And I think that it's a very real fear and a very legitimate fear that's getting tapped into right now. As far as, see, there we go, I'm choking up again. As far as what we are supposed to be feeling right now. Because there's a very big part of us that just wants to get angry at the situation. And anger at the situation is legitimate. Fear at the situation is legitimate. Everything you're feeling right now, guys, it is so important to feel and acknowledge. And here's why. Because when we actually acknowledge what we're feeling and we don't try to just squash it down and just go, nope, I'm good, I'm happy. Which is my instant response. I personally just try to smile and slap a doily on the elephant in the room and call it a coffee table. When we don't feel those feelings, when we don't allow ourselves to acknowledge and say, yeah, I'm afraid. I am so freaking afraid. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. I feel helpless. I feel vulnerable. I feel like there's something that I can't control and that scares the hell out of me. Or maybe, you're actually feeling pretty good and you're being shamed for having a pretty good time of this whole quarantine thing. That's the other thing. If you're having a good 2020, please, acknowledge it, celebrate it. But I think 2020 is a lot of things that we had all kind of repressed and denied about ourselves now getting shown to us, now coming up to the surface, whether it's that you've lost your job and you've identified yourself with your career for the past 10 years. That was a big challenge for me. Thankfully, I didn't lose my business, but it's a constant concern that what if we go back into quarantine? What if I can't do the job that I do? And what does that make me? That's the thing, is it challenges our ideas of who we are and it challenges our feelings around who we are. So myself, I just got very fearful for a moment. I got very fearful because one of my core values is personal freedom, which is an interesting thing because it's something nobody can take away when you think about it. Until they have actually figured out how to get inside our heads and monitor our thoughts and stop our thoughts, we're always free inside ourselves. And that's something that I guess I need to remember too, is nobody, even people, Nelson Mandela, I'm gonna pull that card, guys, I'm sorry, but he was in prison for years in not great conditions, and he was still free to grow his compassion and to reflect on himself and his bigger purpose, and he came out of it and went on to change the world. However, technically all of his physical freedoms were taken away, which, going back to the whole fear thing, a lot of fears that we have are legitimate feelings. You have every right to feel afraid right now, and you should honor and cherish that. Well, to even say should is kind of putting an expectation on it, but those fears and those frustrations and those hopes and those goals and those anxieties, fear of loss is a big one we're all facing. It's a lot of the reason that we're afraid of a virus is because we're afraid of death. We're afraid of loss of our loved ones. It's a very legitimate fear. And when we expect ourselves to squash it down and to distract ourselves from it, all they do is they just compound and compound and compound and compound, and then they sneak out in little aggressive, passive-aggressive ways, like getting pissed at somebody for not wearing a mask, or getting pissed at somebody for asking that you wear a mask because of what have you reason. And that's kind of causing everything to just bubble up and bubble up and bubble up and bubble up. And now that that's all happening, we're getting really confronted with having to face emotions, having to face feelings that are seriously, deeply uncomfortable, but we need to face them. Why? Not so that they'll go away, which is actually a really nice side effect of sitting with our feelings and just acknowledging that we have them. A lot of that discomfort tends to go away. But we need to be willing to look at the uncomfortable feelings in ourselves first before we can even really process the uncomfortable stuff going on in the world right now. There's a lot of discomfort in the world, but if we can't see what's uncomfortable in us first clearly, or at least be willing to see it clearly, maybe we haven't gotten to the seeing clearly yet. That's a constant evolution too, and that's a constant daily practice, which I'm still learning. But until we can really at least just sit down and say, hey, tell that part of ourselves, hey, I see you, and it's okay that you're there. All it's gonna do is keep getting more and more and more secretive and more built up until finally we're gonna explode in ways that we don't want to and really aren't who we want to be. But if we're so caught up in fear and frustration, yeah, we're gonna lash out. And nobody wants that. Not even the people who are lashing out want that. That's the thing, is we're all so getting stirred up right now that, yeah, things are kind of getting really, really tense, and especially with the election. Whew, that's a whole other subject. Yeah. And the other thing is, I have to say, I felt that fear and that frustration. You know what I did? I went right to YouTube. Not this YouTube. I mean, I went right to watch videos. And I gotta tell you, it pacified that frustration and that fear. I felt less bodily kind of agitated. I stopped crying. I stopped getting that. But guess what happened when I turned the video off? It went right back, and it came back with a vengeance. And I started crying immediately. To the point where I just had to grab a cup of coffee and say, okay, well, actually not coffee, I'm trying to cut down on that, but tea, a nice soothing cup of tea. I still did have to do something to take care of myself, but the thing is, being on an addictive thing, like, let's face it, social media, YouTube, although, hi, thank you for watching. These things, a lot of them really just pacify. They don't actually solve. I'm offering what I can to you out of the hope that it's going to help you in the long term after you turn this video off, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe it just calms you and pacifies you for the moment, and that's okay. That's the beauty of life. Everything is actually okay. Everything is working out towards your highest good. That's not a kooky hippie theory, although a lot of kooky hippies teach it. It's just the truth. Everything is happening for your highest evolution and your highest growth if you allow it to. And honestly, that's a pretty comforting thought, isn't it? That maybe no matter how uncomfortable, how freaking annoying things can get, and especially now, everything is here to help us. I mean it. Seriously. And where was I going with that? I lost my train of thought there, went off on a tangent. But the point is, when we go to pacify our feelings and squash them down and numb ourselves out from them, watching TV, watching the news. Oh, the news is actually, it's one of those weird things where it works us up and we get super like wound up from it. But also, it does kind of calm us down, doesn't it? Watching somebody that you go, oh, okay, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, no, the world is crazy. The world is scary. I totally agree with it. That's a weird kind of addictive programming where they stir up your fear just to calm you down and reassure you that, no, you're right for being afraid because the world is scary as hell. And so you turn it off, feeling anxious and wound up and angry, and then you turn it back on because at least one news station gets it. And they agree too that the world is a scary place. That's effed up. That's a really effed up system that they're putting out there. And if you watch the news, please continue to stay informed. But make sure that you're not just doing it so that you can check out of your own feelings and so that you can go into this addictive cycle of just hearing confirmation that your fear is real. You have that confirmation. All you gotta do is say out loud, or maybe quietly if you don't want anybody looking at you like you're a wacko in Kroger. But all you have to do is acknowledge to yourself and say, yes, I'm afraid. I'm afraid. I'm afraid that my financial freedom will be challenged. I'm afraid that people I love will get sick, possibly die. I'm afraid that my relationship is falling apart because now we've been forced into staying with each other a lot longer, and maybe we're realizing the person that we see every day is that person, and we're seeing that real person. We're not liking it. So yeah, I'm afraid that my relationship might fall apart. I'm afraid that I might be alone. I'm afraid that I might never get back to work. I'm afraid that I'm being manipulated by some shadow government and the powers that be that are running these awful, awful abuse rings and, profiting off of horrendous things. I'm afraid that there are things like that out there. I'm afraid that monsters are real. That's all okay to be afraid of, as long as we acknowledge it. And no external source telling you, even me telling you it's okay to be afraid. Don't listen to any other external force before you've talked to yourself. Yeah, I know that sounds weird. Not in the hearing voices in your head kind of way, but until you've seen yourself, nobody else is going to be able to relate to you. And nobody else is really going to be able to calm your fear until you've taken a look at your own fear. And metaphorically speaking, given that inner child that's sitting there just afraid of the monsters, if you can't give that child a hug first and say, it's okay, sweetie, yeah, it's okay to be afraid, and I'm still here for you, and you are stronger than all of this, no outside source is going to be able to calm you for very long. And no outside source is going to be able to give you any lasting or meaningful sort of peace until you've been able to acknowledge in yourself what you're feeling. And like I said, if you're feeling great right now, if things have worked out for you quite nicely, and if you're kind of digging this whole, gosh, I get time off, I get to finally explore who I am, I get to create, I'm gonna start meditating, that's what I'm gonna do. Please do it. Please celebrate those feelings. I don't care how crazy the world looks. That is beautiful, and that's what the world needs, is hope. If you're having a good day, please share it with the world. Please say it. If somebody asks you how your day's going, it's going great. And that alone spreads so much light and so much joy and hope that we are so desperately needing. So I guess what I'm trying to say is be authentic to yourself and be compassionate with yourself. And if you're new to the practice of taking a look inside and really kind of saying, it's okay, honey. I know you're afraid. If that's a new feeling for you, just start out by saying, I feel fear. I feel frustration. You don't even have to know why or what or when or who is causing it. Just acknowledge it in yourself and just see how much more peaceful that feels. Just see how much just that simple acknowledgement. Have you ever been so desperate for somebody to just get you? I think that's what a lot of Disney movies teach us, is we all just so want somebody to know us better than we know ourselves. It's a really like romantic concept, isn't it, to have somebody just be able to look at you and say, hey, you doing okay? So why wouldn't you do that for yourself? Why wouldn't you give yourself that grace and that love? Because you're an unlimited source of it. That's the beauty of this. You are an unlimited source of your own love. You don't need to look to YouTube videos. You don't need to look to your friends. You don't need to look to your family. Yes, they are important. Yes, connection. Don't get me wrong. But none of it is going to feel as good or as satisfying or as peaceful as if you can just take 10 minutes a day and check in and be your own boyfriend, girlfriend, friend, mother, father, whoever you were wanting to see you. Be that for yourself first. Feel those feelings. Allow yourself to feel those feelings. And let me tell you, it gets messy at first. Because all of a sudden, all these feelings start coming up and they go, ooh, 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 feel me, hey, acknowledge me, acknowledge me. Gets a little messy, hang in there. It gets easier. And just even talking about this is making me feel more at peace, because really, I guess when anybody posts a video, they're really just kind of trying to talk themselves through something, aren't they? Yeah, I mean, again, I hope this helps whoever needs to hear it today. But really, I guess I needed to hear it too. So with that, I ask all of you, whoever sees this video, to just take 5 minutes a day, end of the day, beginning of the day, lunch break, and just acknowledge to yourself, I'm feeling fearful. No, I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling actually pretty good. I'm feeling silly today. I'm feeling a little bit spaced. I'm feeling like I need to go for a walk. I'm feeling like I really need to sit down and just do that project that I've been wanting to do for the past 3 months. Whatever you're feeling, honor it. And cherish it as a part of you. And as a communication from your true self. Because that's it, is our emotions are the way that we connect to our true selves. And if we're squashing them down, if we're denying them, if we're saying we shouldn't be feeling this way, then what kind of chance does that give us? What kind of chance for any authenticity, any kind of true sovereign power, what kind of chance do we have if we can't even acknowledge what we're feeling and love it for being a part of us, and just being a part of us that's not feeling comfortable right now? So give yourself 5 minutes a day to just check in, and thank you for checking in with me and letting me share this with you. I hope it helps somebody who needs to hear it today. And what's today? Saturday? Yeah, have an awesome weekend. Bye guys, thank you.